I'm Drea.
I'm Meg.
I'm Tina.
And I'm Jess. And this is Pardon My Stash. Welcome to Pardon My Stash, a podcast about knitting, the fiber arts, and how awesome it is. Woo. Before we get into this week's topic, let's share what we're working on right now. Drea?
Arachne shawl. Verily knits. Claire Slade.
Me too.
With moon yarn.
With moon yarn. I am working on the Arachne shawl by Claire Slade / Verily Knits. I am using Plies and Hellhounds Penny in Flower Moon and Nightmares +10. I just noticed the +10 on there. It's extra nightmares.
Extra. Just to make sure I've had enough.
Yeah, have you seen the tag?
I do, and now I'm like, I thought mine was a typo. I didn't think it was an actual +10.
It says Nightmares +10.
Oh. Okay. Well, there is a modifier on the nightmare.
Listen. You don't know.
Extra nightmares.
Extra nightmares for you.
That's funny. Meg?
I'm on the struggle bus.
That's
Right
fair.
on. Me too.
I have not, to date, I have not been able to finish a single project this year. I have not been able to focus on a single project this year. So I started a new one because that's how I roll, apparently. So right now I'm working on, I just started tonight, The Impressionist Shawl by Helen Stewart. And I've had the yarn for this for a really long time, and I just finally decided tonight was the night. And I'm making it out of Ashen Bumble, Meadow Fingering. And off the top of my head, I don't know the other two colorways, but the one I'm currently using is called Water Lilies.
It's a pretty colorway.
I love this yarn. I've had this yarn for almost 2 years now.
Oh, wow.
And for whatever reason, I have never picked up and I knew when I bought the yarn that I wanted it for this shawl. That's why I picked it. And I just never buckled down and did it. But this is like it's a really user-friendly pattern. One of the things I like about Helen Stewart's patterns is that not everything is charted, but the directions for every single row and the stitch count for every single row are knit out. Nice. No math involved at all. So like, when you put down your pattern for a while, maybe this is just me, I don't think it's just me though, and you go back to it and you pick up your row counter and you're like, okay, I'm on row 60. But it's a pattern, and now you have to figure out what row 60 was.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that with this. You can literally just look. It will tell you how many stitches you're supposed to have on the needle and exactly what you're supposed to be doing in row 60. And
That's
I really,
nice.
really love
That
that
is
about
really
her
awesome.
patterns. So we'll see where this goes. I mean, by next session, I may be doing something totally different because it's just been my year. But hey, we're going with it. Jess, what you working on?
I am working on Between the Dragon and His Rap by Kathleen Sperling. And I'm on the last edge before the border. Or last border before the edge. I don't know. So I've got like 5 rows left. And then I start the garter end. And there's actually decreases. Like there were increases to start and decreases to end. And then I have to steek it.
Oh.
So we'll see how that goes.
It's gonna look amazing.
It's massive.
Every time I had to change, I had to do a new yarn thing, I did it in the steeking section, so I would have less to worry about, or I was hoping I would have less to worry about. So there's a ton of just like yarn ends hanging out here because I'm not weaving them in if I'm just cutting them anyway.
That's fair.
So that's how I did that, and so we are getting there. It is huge.
It's like a blanket at this
I guess
point.
we're supposed to steek it first and then block it. And then it's weird. So and then you like tie the little ends and then that's how that goes.
Are you gonna reinforce the steek before you do it?
I might. So I'm using superwash. So supposedly, if you're not gonna do like the crocheted reinforcement, you can needle felt, and I have plenty of those. I was gonna say, well,
I guess we know what you're gonna do.
So I'm probably gonna do a very minor needle felt and see how that works, just as sort of like, because it says you don't need to. Like basically the way this one is set up is you steek it and you actually want to unravel a bunch of it, and then you tie it, like you basically create tassels and you tie them all off. You don't necessarily need the steeked edge, but I may, like I said, do it just as a in case. And
I've done all this work and I don't want to watch it just
I also like stabbing
unravel.
stuff with the needle. I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
So
Well, you could like stab it or steek it or whatever. I don't know what steeking is, so just ignore everything I'm saying.
it.
I know, but like I don't know how to set it up, so just ignore anything I'm saying right now. But could you do the setup part where you want the tassels to start?
So what you basically do is you cut in between. So I know the people listening can't hear. There's this section that's all just like it goes one color, they're lines, and you go into the middle of that and you cut it, and then you unravel it so the lines become different colored tassels. So and then it's supposed to be pretty even on both sides, and you trim them. So.
That's actually quite brilliant because
right?
like a lot of the steeking is like what do you do with those edges when you're done? And it's kind of neat that they created this thing where purposefully leaving those
Like
ends.
the steeking has a purpose,
Right, like those bits
Yeah.
hanging off the end.
No, and it's cool too because it's like, you know, you can do color work without having to do like a garter type color work thing, which I hate doing. So it works out. Tina?
I'm doing the same thing as Drea. The end. No, actually, no. No, I'm actually, I can say this. I am closing it. I have one repeat of, one set of repeat to do before I'm at the spider butt.
Ooh, spider butt.
Yeah.
Give yourself a hand.
Thank you so much.
We are almost there.
No, because I've been in this section for a very long time where Drea flew through that section in like 3 days. So so it took me a really long time to get through this section. But I finally did. So I'm about to hit the number to go to the last repeat. So I'm excited.
Nice.
That's it.
Awesome. And if any of you want to see pictures of our current projects or get more information about Pardon My Stash, be sure to check out our website, pardonmystash.com, for info, pics, patterns, and yarns. All right, so this week we are going to talk about those terrible tangled yarn experiences that all of us have. At one point.
That's going to be the entire episode, guys.
It's all of it. All of it.
Lots of sad trombones.
Lots of sad trombone. We've all been there. We've all been there. We have all been there. You don't know it because that's not the thing that we post pictures about all the time. Although in hindsight, some of the things we probably should, because I'm sure in hindsight they're hilarious. But at the time, not so much. At the time, you're wanting to throw everything out the window and burn it.
So this is an episode about laugh crying about past experiences.
Things that we can actually look at and laugh about now and not like sob uncontrollably. So yeah. My personal fave was when the umbrella Swift decided that the pins didn't want to be there anymore.
I forgot about that.
I was gonna say you were there.
I forgot that. It literally just fell apart while you were winding. Boom. Just
half of it collapsed. The other half was trying. It was hanging on. There's yarn was, I don't even know what it was doing, like half on, half off. There are things sticking out. Like, you ever see an umbrella where like one of it bees free of its confine of the umbrella cloth? Yeah, that's what it was kind of doing. It was like sticking out.
That Swift had given us several years of good service.
Yeah, but it
and
didn't
it
have
just
to go out with
it
such a
decided to retire dramatically.
Is that what we're calling?
Well, and that Swift too, that was a beautiful Swift.
It
that was the
was.
one your dad bought
Yes,
me
it
for
was.
Christmas. And the one thing about that Swift that always killed me was that it didn't clamp to anything. So
Yeah,
you would
it
be
just-
spinning and it would kind of be like edging its way to the edge of the table, and you're like, can you please just sit there quietly and not move? And
What
it would be
was
like, nope,
great
here we go.
It was like when you had the full skein, like when you first started, it was fine because it was held by the weight of the skein. And as the skein got like less and less,
It started to do its
started
shuffle.
walking. And you're like, I either got to stop my mojo and like push it back, or I got to like play that game of chicken and see if I can finish the skein before it walks off the edge of the table. And you know what? We won some, we lost some.
Yeah. Usually lost. It was a good Swift. Pour one out for the Swift.
It was a good Swift.
It was a good
It was a
Swift.
good Swift.
I like the one we have now better. It's a better
Yes.
Swift.
Oh, it's such a good Swift.
But yeah, that one, it gave us many years of good service. It just, yeah. It did have the side dance, and
you know,
it I don't know what happened that day. It just decided it was time.
Yeah, like a pin just disappeared and the whole thing just
collapsed.
It was like slow motion. I saw the pin go one arm half collapse, and then the whole thing just.
The Swift
just
had like an
went.
existential crisis, like all at once. It just collapsed.
It's like, well, my time is done.
I have a story slightly related to an umbrella Swift, but I was trying to wind a skein of yarn, and so I went to go put it on the Swift, and when I went to go put it on the Swift, I don't know what happened. I misjudged distance, but I went to like put it on, I had it on one side, and I went to go wrap it on the other, and I completely missed, and the other side was just the edge of the table, so then the whole thing just went completely down, and then this side decided, nah, I don't want to stay on, and it just went down, and it actually pulled the Swift off, because that's where the clamp was, and it just, the yarn weight just like completely pulled the Swift up, and it all
Oh,
went
God.
completely
Are you
Oh,
talking about
God.
the blue one that I
the
have
blue one
now?
that you have now, yeah.
Throw the rest of the yarn too.
It was like literally like I was like, okay, this is gonna be great, and then I'll just and that was the last time when I load the yarn. I don't load it from the back. I go from the side where the edge is hanging off, not from the side that it's on the table. That was
So
the lesson I
It
learned.
was just mad. It just said no.
So I have that Swift now.
Congratulations!
Let me tell you, it has burned me as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to. I didn't give it to you for that. You just didn't have a Swift at all.
Before I even had it, like it was still in your office at your house.
Yes.
I think you guys were on vacation, and I was winding yarn for Frank's hat, the green and gray one.
Oh yes,
Yeah. And you know how, like, the Swift doesn't stay umbrellaed out?
No, it doesn't.
So-
it doesn't like. So to explain that, there's a middle part that is supposed to
It slides-
clamp in the middle and hold the thing out.
Yeah, it slides
And it
up
doesn't.
like an umbrella.
No, I have one of those black like big clips that I put underneath it to give it some extra oomph.
Yeah, it's a little binder clip, like
Yeah.
a butterfly
Hey,
clip.
you know what? Go with what works.
Yep.
But when I was winding one of these skeins of yarn, you know, the 100 ravens that it is,
Oh God.
that middle clamp just decided, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. And like mid-wind, it just collapses and it becomes like a complete tangled mess. And I left it there for like an hour.
Oh yeah, no. there is no coming back from that.
Look, Mom,
you
a
gotta
center
calm
pole.
down.
Barlow came in and he was like, what's going on?
Not now, Barlow.
We're having dramatic crying in here.
I was so sad. And Frank had come in because I had gone upstairs to wind the yarn. And I hadn't come down for a while. And he's like, I'm just checking on you.
I'm inwardly raging right now.
As you can see, things are going great.
So the fun part is the reason why you ended up with that Swift is because I got my squirrel cage Swift,
Yes.
which, if you don't know what a squirrel cage Swift is a freestanding vertical Swift, and it has two wheels that hold tension apart to hold the yarn hank in place so that you can wind it into a cake. But let me tell you, even the squirrel cage Swift has problems.
Yeah.
And the first time I wasn't used to, there wasn't no how to on the squirrel cage. And I don't know if there is at this point now that it's been out for a little bit and it's gotten more
There's
popular.
a YouTube video.
There's a YouTube
There
video
is a
now.
YouTube
There was
video.
no YouTube video.
I
when
didn't watch
started.
it, but there was.
There were instructions. I disregarded them, but they are there.
I can figure this out.
I could tell. I'm telling you right now. When I got mine, there was no instructions. The only instructions were to put it together, not how to actually use it. So I was like trying to use it, and I was like, okay, so I think I got the gist. Like make sure it's tensioned. Well, so I thought I had it tensioned enough. I did not.
Yeah.
And so it was like, oh, you don't need me on this. And so I started spinning. And then, like, as soon as it started spinning, it just yeeted itself
off the edge. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
And I went, oh.
My favorite was when I didn't, like, I was adjusting it and I forgot. Once I adjusted it because I got a good tension on it. So I forgot to actually tighten the wheel. So as it's like going, all of a sudden the wheel drops, and I was like, oh, that was on me. I also don't always use the wrench, so this is a user error. Like the Swift
always
itself
supposed
is
to use
amazing.
the wrench?
You're supposed to. I never do. I do the double pull where you hold one side, hold the other side, and you twist in opposite directions. But I may use the wrench every once in a while.
I straight up hold the knob on the other side, and I just go twist.
I cannot with you because, honest to God, like, you will sit there with a stupid Lego booklet and be like, I will read every one of these 8,000 instructions. But the Swift, you're like, I'm just going to wing it like everything in my life.
Like, listen, every leaf needed to be in the correct spot.
But here's the thing, like, I'm not a good directions person. I'll admit that. I really am. But you are, and that's why I'm like, I don't understand.
You just twist
I don't get it.
And mainly because I know me and I don't know where that wrench is right now. I'm pretty sure it's on the fireplace somewhere. I'm just not positive.
I think that is the thing I found the other day, and I went,
I don't
what
need
is
this.
this for?
Oh my God.
No, I didn't throw it out. I went,
It's
I probably need
It's
this.
just a little flat wrench, and I know.
Okay, yes.
It's like a
okay.
little flat wrench. It's very small.
It's sitting on my craft table. I put it in a little box, and I said, I might need this later. And I just put it right back.
Watching you two have this epiphany about this wrench is one of the funniest things I've seen in a while.
I'm just saying, this I will totally own up to user error.
Same.
Like, user error.
Same.
Although that thing can yeet yarn if you don't have the tension right. Like, it just flies.
I mean,
Off
it
them
does
wheels.
go at an incredible speed, which is
does.
good because you can get the cake done fast. Which is bad if you haven't set it up correctly, because it will literally fly. It will fly across the room. Take it from me and Jess, who apparently have experience with it.
It has, and I'm sitting there like, no, that didn't happen. What? No, it's the yarn's fault.
You know what it is? It's the yarn dyer's fault. They wound it wrong.
Oh my God. So can I tell you, no, I used to do that all the time. I did that all the time. It was terrible. I'd be like, oh, who wound this? Not realizing that most yarn comes in already like wound hanks.
No, it's the dyer's fault.
No, I'm telling you. But that's the thing. Like earlier today, I was having a problem winding and I was sitting there and I'm like, I know it's not the dyer. Can these like manufacturers not do this? Like, can they not like triple weave in before they tie the knots? And you know what? Like, I do not have patience. That's not true. I just use it all up at work. I use it all up at work.
fair.
Like, and that is unfortunate. Like, because that's the thing, I have to. I have to have patience at work. I can't just like haul off and yell at a bunch of teenagers. I'll get in trouble for that. But then I come home and the last thing I want to do is wrestle with some yarn, like, because I will verbally abuse that yarn.
Turn into a cake.
Times.
I put you in the oven. You should be a cake now.
The Swift is an oven.
The Swift is an oven. I don't know if you know this.
Oh my God.
And sometimes when the yarn yeets, I just tell myself that the yeast overflowed the pan, and I just put the okay.
Oh my
it's
God,
Just me. It's
no.
just me. I'm the
Tina,
only
this
one
metaphor
that
is
does
like
this.
running away from you.
You gotta mix it.
You know, though,
While
Mariel,
you
when
bake
we
it.
started calling these cakes, like Mariel would come up when she was like maybe 2. And she'd pick it up and be like, delicious cake. Yum, 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 yum. And it was really cute. Anyway, that's a tangent.
See,
That's a tangent.
I'm not the only. I'm just my mind is that of a 2-year-old.
Well, we knew that.
oh God.
Oh,
Yeah.
my head.
No.
So I have an unswift winding, not a winding related tangle.
At the time it was awful. But...
Well, no, I wasn't going to tell that one. I was going to
It
tell
can be
a
any
different
tangle.
one.
We just went on a swift
No,
tangent.
so back when I was knitting calliope, and my lovely friend Mary was encouraging me to do 2 at a time sleeves. She had done them herself. She said, here's a tutorial. You're going to love it. You're never going to go back to doing sleeves 1 at a time. I said, fine, I'm going to do it. And I did do it. And it is a fantastic technique. Highly recommend. Figuring out a way to do it when you're already using 2 yarns held together was an adventure. Because calliope, as written, is knit with a strand of, I believe it's merino, and a strand of mohair. So you've already balanced, you're already doing 2 balls of yarn, but then when you're doing 2 at a time sleeves, you multiply that by 2. So 4 balls of yarn. And I'm sitting on the couch and I'm trying to do this. And the balls are just rolling everywhere. And Jess is just watching me I'm just swearing constantly as they're all tangling in each other. And of course, because I was knitting calliope in a monochrome, they're all the same color, which is just making things that much better. And the technique I finally came up with to handle this was I put each sleeve's worth of yarn in a separate Ziploc bag.
Sandwich bags. Man.
And I just kept moving the sandwich bags around me. I don't know if that's a
when
good
the
method.
sleeves get long enough, you can
tuck them in. You can tuck them in.
But
yes.
they have to get
I
long
wasn't
enough
there
first.
yet because you're starting way up at the top. It was, oh my God, it was such a mess. Anyway, the sleeves came out great. I was very happy with them when they were done, but just figuring out how to juggle 4 balls of yarn while you're also learning a new technique was not fun, and there were a lot of tangles.
I find that with doing 2 sleeves at a time, it is easier to do at least 5 rows on each sleeve because then you can tuck. Typically,
Right.
It gives you just enough of a give that you can tuck the yarn for that sleeve into that sleeve.
And you can get that underarm a bit tighter.
You get rid of that hole.
There's an underarm technique that you can do, but you really can't do it 2 at a time. You have to do it do that, resolve the holes first, and then there is a fantastic armhole. Under armpit hole technique on YouTube. I don't know the lady's name. It's just on my liked videos on my YouTube thing. So I will find that out and I'll give it to you, Meg, to put on the blog post. But it is like the best. Works every time. Makes my sweaters look A+. Can't go wrong.
Tangling a bunch of balls. Not doing that.
Just
I didn't
put
mean
me
that
away.
sound as bad as it was.
Put me in a little
Go sit
dunce
on the couch
chair.
and think about what
I
you
know.
did.
Give me a hat.
Think about what
Give
you've
me a
done.
dunce
Time
hat.
out.
I need a timeout.
Go sit in timeout. Think about what you've done. Oh, God.
Bad me.
Other disasters.
Dude, remember that bamboo yarn I had though?
Okay. Yes. That was back in the pre-ball winder days.
In the long ago.
In the
When-
second year that we were all hanging out and knitting.
The land before time.
Way back in the day.
When I actually got a quote unquote fancy skein that was a skein and not an already made into a ball type.
Yeah,
yarn.
back when we weren't buying, this is back when we were still just strictly buying big box store yarn that's already in a center pull ball. And we went to, I think it was Hither and Yarn.
Oh yeah.
When it was still open, and you bought that beautiful purple bamboo.
There was a blue one, too.
Beautiful,
Yeah. It felt
beautiful
real nice.
bamboo yarn.
Yep.
And of course, she has to sit down and hand wind it.
Yeah, because how else were you supposed to do it back then?
I think
This
I
is
might
the long
still
ago.
have a picture of that on my Facebook, and if I have it, I'm gonna put
Listen,
it up.
at the time too. Again, this was so long ago, guys. I don't even think I had a smartphone. Like,
You
Ravelry
didn't have a
wasn't
smartphone
thing.
until we were dating.
Yeah,
so what do you
see?
mean? Like,
So, yeah,
this is
so-
like 10 years before that.
So that was like all the things. So it was just like, okay, you open it, you kind of like put it on the floor in a circle, and then you wind it, and you just like make sure the wind like goes in a circle. And I forgot what happened, but I pulled really hard and the circle collapsed on itself. And it was just a mess. But I couldn't cut it because it was nice yarn and I spent a lot for me on it at the time. So I spent the next 2 hours just slowly unraveling that stupid thing. I don't know if I ever actually used that yarn at the end.
No, you didn't, because I remember a couple years ago we were going through the stash and I pulled it out and you were like, oh my God, get rid of it.
Yeah. But I still won and I rolled it into a ball. But, that was a time.
I'm not going to do the sad one because you won.
I did. I won. I rolled it. It was a beautiful little ball of yarn that sat next to its friend for the rest of eternity.
Never.
I hope someone did get it and are enjoying it now because it was nice yarn. I
hope someone whoever ended up with it opened it and started using it and went, wow, what a nicely wound ball.
Nicely wound yarn. It's also bamboo, so as it's doing that, it's getting the fuzzes that connect it to itself, and you're like, is this a knot? Is this just it's fused to itself? This is fantastic.
I was making a hat I was trying to make a 49ers hat. It was made out of alpaca yarn. This was before I realized I was allergic to alpaca yarn.
Do it. Just do it. Just hit it.
Just
hit the thing.
I was and I was like, okay, here I go. And if you've ever worked with alpaca yarn, it sheds like a mother.
Ooh, yeah, it does.
It do.
And it started shedding, and then it decided, oh, you know what? I know you made me into a cake, but all the shedding yarn you started tossing towards the cake, and now all the shedded pieces are going to get tangled in the cake.
Phenomenal.
So then I was like, oh, it's tangled. Let me untangle this. It wasn't tangled. It was like a shedded piece had attached two pieces. And so it wasn't in a knot at all. It was just needed to literally be ripped apart. But because it's alpaca, you don't know if you're ripping apart the yarn or if you're ripping apart.
You're basically snatching it.
Is that what's wrong with that yarn?
That is exactly what's wrong with that yarn.
I have that project now. I still haven't finished it. I've had it for over a year. I was going to give it to somebody who is also a 49ers fan.
Yeah.
And I
don't think it's meant to be. I think that needs to be burned.
I'm like in the decreases for the crown. Like,
wow.
I'm in the home stretch.
Maybe that alpaca just didn't like the 49ers. And it's like, no!
No, it's going to be.
It fought its destiny.
If you got that.
No.
Talking about barf. Drea's ball. Wow.
Wow. That's a big. No, it doesn't look like it's going to be that bad though. It looks like it'll.
No, that deserved.
I'm going to pull it.
Can you take a picture of that so that all of our listeners can see what just happened to Drea? Literally just.
Oh man! All right, yeah, no, pull.
I'm gonna pull it.
It might.
Go ahead.
It might.
I'm
Go
gonna pull
ahead,
it.
try.
Here, hang on.
Are you gonna video it?
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens.
Okay, ready?
It might be an okay one.
It might be okay. Let's see. Let's see how it do.
We're gonna see.
Let's
Okay.
Oh.
That's promising.
Oh, I think it's okay.
Yeah,
know.
it's separated.
it's
It's separated.
good.
It's good.
Good.
It just pulled out a double
What about that
inside.
side? What about that side?
This side?
What about that side?
The ugly side. So, had a little bit of yarn barf. It resolved itself.
Hooray.
It looked way worse than what it actually was. So,
Such apropos for this episode.
know?
I know.
Needed just a little bit of barf just to go with it.
everything
makes sense.
needs a little bit of barf.
No,
Okay.
stop.
Gross, please no.
Oh, Lord. Well, I mean, I could talk about when I've already pulled this project out, but I had a Oldenburg sweater, which was made out of like a mint yarn, and the bottom of it, I was like, I'm totally done with this. This is totally fine. No, it's not.
No, it wasn't.
I missed an entire
Yes,
stitch,
you did.
and it rolled all the way back. And I
all the way up.
went, oh no! And so I was like, so I fixed it all the way down, but then there was a color change at the hem. So I was like, you know what we'll do? I'm gonna put a knot, and I put a knot.
How'd that work out?
It's unraveled. The entire project is unraveled. I unraveled all the entire project because between that and like there was like a pulled stitch in one of the sleeves and like it was just it needed to come out. I might make it again because I really like that project, but I totally absolutely that was like its own barf. I swear, because like I had to like refix it and then like it just sat there with a knot at the bottom of it and I was like fantastic.
I think that's one of the most frustrating things when you really want a project to work out and it just keeps having problem after problem after problem. Mm-hmm. I don't have the patience for that. If I keep having issues with something, that's it for me. That's it. Like once I have corrected this problem, I think you said once on an earlier episode, like 3 problems, I'm out. And I think that's fair though. I think that is fair because it's like, I said at the beginning of this episode, I've been on the struggle bus with knitting for a while and that's fine. But like when you're on the struggle bus with one project, you kind of get to the point where you're like, how much effort and stress am I really putting into this and am I actually finding any joy in it at all? And when you keep having issues with it, and that's actually what happened to me with the Celtic Myths shawl. I made a mistake, and I mentioned this before we started the episode when you were here earlier tonight, and it took me like 3 weeks to go back and fix it. Wasn't a huge mistake, and I went back and I fixed it, and I'm like, okay, moving forward. And probably about 3 days later, I made another mistake and it was a bigger mistake. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. I don't have the wherewithal to go back and pull this out. I don't want this project badly enough. Like I am all set.
I still have not blocked that.
I still have the yarn caked for that.
I mean, yeah, me too. Really?
Yeah.
You haven't worn it yet?
No.
Oh, why?
I haven't blocked it yet.
Okay, but why? It came out so good. It
did.
Why would you not? I don't know. So Jess, you're the only one that finished and wore it.
Like it's done. It's done. The ends are woven in. I just never blocked it.
Because I did. That project was so boring, but I was like, no! Finishing the stupid thing.
I've never heard her complain about a project so much.
Oh my God.
I mean, the whole time.
A beautiful piece, but oh my God.
And you know what? I did mine so fast.
You did.
Yeah.
You did.
You know what, though? Like, I mean, but I did that with Dark Academia, but it's because I was like, convinced it wouldn't fit, and that's why I just didn't block it.
Oh no, I'm just
I was convinced. Like I had a reason. I'm like, I'm not gonna block it because it's not gonna, I know this isn't gonna fit me, so what's the point?
I just realized though I never finished blocking my little like
I know. No, you didn't just realize because you bring it up every 3 months and you go, I gotta block that.
Yeah, no, because I couldn't find the steamer because I have to steam block it. And I found the steamer, I was like, oh cool, I can do that. And then I put the steamer away and still haven't done it.
Jess.
Which project is it?
It is, so you remember her Morganis, her I Am Dragon shawl, the one that yeah.
It's like
it's a mini one. It's like a cowl. And she made that out of our Yarn Ranger in the colorway Morgan. So it's like this nice like red and green color that's not Christmassy, it's more like autumnal. But then you have like a clamp on it, like to close it.
I gotta get that too.
Jess, it's literally been like every couple of months you're like, I gotta block that.
I know, because
but you don't do it.
Because every couple of months I see it in its box and I'm like, oh yeah, and then I move the box and I don't see it and I forget it exists again. But the talking about having stuff that have remained unblocked reminded me of it.
Oh my God.
I think that's like the 19th time I pressed that button tonight.
Oh my Lord. I think you kind of have to get to a point where you look at a project and you're like, not one that's done, absolutely, but that you haven't done in a while, and you just kind of have to come to terms with like, I'm not going to finish this. I'm not going to finish this.
Wait.
Let me just rip it out.
I'm gonna play the noise first because that's how sad this is. Hold on a second.
Oh, pre-trombone. Oh no.
The Silva Cami.
Oh, pour one out for the Silva Cami.
Oh, I did wind it back up. After,
you know what? That was such great yarn, though. Like yarn deserves a project.
That yarn.
I'm glad you were able
to be
harvest
something else. So for the Silva Cami, that I actually had 2 skeins of yarn held out for that. So I feel like, and Drea, you could tell me this: how many yards on average does it take to make a pair of socks, adult socks?
So usually a fingering weight skein of yarn has like what?
Usually about a little less than 440.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
And I can make a whole pair of socks with a skein of yarn.
Then
With some left over, depending on like the length of the
Cuff.
of the leg. Yeah.
because I think what I could do is I could make myself a pair of socks and I could make the girls a pair of socks and then we could have cutesy little matchy socks. But then I would make socks for my kids who would not appreciate it and they would destroy the socks.
Well, you should make a pair of socks for you and a pair of socks for me.
Well, I will just make. How about I just make 2 pairs of socks for myself? How's that?
I don't need your socks. just a suggestion.
How about
know, if I remember
I'll
correctly,
make
my
4
birthday's up
socks and
next.
everybody gets 1 sock. How's that?
Beautiful.
And y'all can share. How's
Beautiful.
that? Everybody gets a little sock. We'll use them as stockings. They'll be part of my stash stockings. A little.
I have a womp womp sock story.
Okay, hold on.
No, you don't need to do it. So we've talked before about with our wedding, and Jess made shawls for me. She made shawls for everybody at this table, pretty much. That was kind of our plan from the get go. Is I helped pick the yarn and the patterns, and then I said go. And she made all the shawls. That was all of my contribution. So as we got closer to the date, I decided I wanted to make her a pair of socks because at the time I wasn't knitting shawls and I was knitting socks, which I don't knit anymore. So I picked out, it was called Spring Forward, I think is the pattern. It's a really pretty pattern. It's free on Knitty. And I made it out of this beautiful yarn, and I cannot remember what the brand was anymore. It was it was gorgeous navy blue. It matched the vest that she wore for the wedding. It matched the shawl she made for me. And they came out really nice, I thought. They did. And she wore them the day of the wedding and go back to the hotel room at the end of the night, and she takes them off. And I am, for whatever reason, and I know how to do it, but my nemesis is the Kitchener stitch. Like, I can't do it. Every time I do it, something goes wrong and it falls apart. So we got back to the hotel room. She takes her shoes off and the entire toe is gone from one of the socks I knitted her. Like, it's just gone. Like,
So
completely unraveled.
I noticed the hole when we were doing makeup.
Oh, you didn't tell me.
Of course I didn't, because you were going to tell me to take it off, and I wasn't taking it off. I would wear those socks all dang night.
That's really sweet, and I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, and
That's real
I
sweet.
tried like a quick mend and folding it, but I could feel it like the whole night. This thing is like, and I felt
But
so
Jess
bad.
was
I'm like, I'm
keeping
ruining it,
these
but I'm
socks
not.
on.
And the other one was fine, but that one was like,
Yeah, no, I don't know what it is. It happens, and that's probably one of the reasons why I don't like knitting socks anymore, because I will be so careful and somehow I will still screw it up.
I'm also super acidic, so I mean,
And yeah, but that wasn't your fault. That was my fault. No. She melts jewelry, man.
no,
Like,
it's
literally.
awful.
Her wedding ring is made out of
Damascus steel.
Damascus steel because she'll just melt gold.
Yeah, gold is gone.
No, she will.
So you
low
are a
grade
dragon.
Silver is
Pretty much.
gone.
Gotcha.
It's like, or it, like I'll take it off and it'll be like warped.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
So
I'm
when
like,
we
I
were
don't
when we
know.
were looking for wedding rings, we were like, we got to find something super
My
durable.
pH levels are stupid.
So, yeah, but that wasn't your fault. That was my fault. It's me like messing up the toe of a sock again, and I know because I've done it multiple times. So,
But they
did
were
I
so
fix
pretty.
them? No, I didn't. She still has them.
I do.
I didn't
It's
fix
the
it.
memory of the sock. It's
Well,
not,
now I know it was the memory of the sock falling off her foot all night, and I feel bad.
It's not falling off my foot. It was
I feel
slowly
bad.
disintegrating up my foot.
Well, anyway, it was the thought that counts, I guess.
I love it.
Whatever.
So good.
Oh, I got one.
Wow.
Oh wow!
I have a
Okay.
Francis story. Yep, it's another sock story. You remember. So he was a baby. He was probably only about 4 months. We'd probably only had him about 4 months.
I'm gonna keep you in this, Francis.
and
'cause we're
I was
talking about you.
trying to knit. I was knitting socks for Jess, and it was, I don't even remember what the pattern was. I was really struggling with it. Like I had to tear it out like 3 times and restart. And Francis, unnoticed to me, grabbed the loose end of the ball in his mouth and just ran, and the whole thing fell off the needles, and he just ran away with it. And that was the end of that. Like, I literally, Jess got upset. I got upset. Like, Francis didn't know why we were both upset because he was a baby and he was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just trying to play with some string.
But you can't play with string. It's not
He's actually, I can't remember a time since then that he's ever tried that. But it was like that one time, and I was just like, you know what? I'm done. This is it. Like, that was probably the third or fourth time that something had gone wrong with those socks, and I was just done. I never tried to do that pattern again.
3 times you're out.
Yep. That was the end.
One I was thinking about was I was doing Sweater of Swords and he wanted cuddles and he jumped into my lap when I did not see him coming and landed right on it and pulled the color work, and took me a good 20 minutes of pulling the color work back because it all disappeared into itself.
He also destroyed your Shalloween. Remember? He tore a whole section out of it.
No, that wasn't him.
Who was that?
That was baby girl. She jumped in
Oh,
my
that was
lap.
Tabby?
No, that was
Mariel. It was Mariel.
She was in my lap and she put her head back and then she pulled it forward and her ponytail got caught on my needle.
Oh, I thought that was Francis.
So she pulled one of the needles forward and it just pulled everything off.
She had to rip back the entire section.
Yep,
The
because
whole
it was
thing
all,
back to the start.
Yarn over twice, knit 2 together, and I could not figure out in that where the drop stitches were.
Nobody
It was
could.
just I gave it a good attempt and I was like, nope. You know what? And I was
And
row
she
away
was
from the
almost
next
done. She was
section.
almost
Yep.
done with the section. She had to go back and do the whole thing
I was
again.
like, that went away for like a day, and then I went back to it. But yeah, that was
I don't know if I would have recovered from that. I think I might have
that
given
one
up.
was tough because I hated that section. I hate doing the double yarn over.
Double
knit
yarn
2
overs are
together.
a pain in the neck. They really are.
It looks great, but I'm like, but it is. If you drop it, it's like, oh God, where is it? Which one of these is the knit 2? Which one of these is the yarn over part? What is happening?
Yep. But do you remember like a billion years ago when you were living in Bristol?
Yes.
Tempest.
Okay.
So Meg had a cat named
Oh, she was
Tempest. She
perfect.
was a black cat, and she was an angry old lady even
She
when she
was
wasn't old.
Beautiful.
She,
Flawless.
And I was sitting on the couch, and I was knitting a pair of socks using Socks That Rock. It was like gorgeous yarn, and Tempest tried to like take a bite out of it.
Which was weird for her because she never did that.
It was
ever.
weird for
That was
her.
like the one time in her many years that she ever tried to
Yep.
bite yarn.
So then I swatted at her to get her away from the yarn, and then she jumped up on the back of the couch.
No, she was already there.
Yeah,
Was
she
she?
tried
Yeah,
swiping it from behind you.
Oh, did
She
she?
reached down over
I
your
thought it was
shoulder.
next to
No,
me.
because when you did that, she actually like looked at you for a minute. Like
you could see this
audacity.
cat was like
Because
angry.
you didn't
that
notice.
She got
You pushed
reprimanded.
her away,
I
and
did.
she kind of like tipped her head and looked at you.
And then she took a bite out of the back of my head.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
She did. She looked at you like this bitch, and then just you could see her think about it because it was slow mo. Like she legit just opened her mouth and took a very deliberate bite
Out of the back of my
into
head.
your head.
And she was not a biter either.
No, it
she was
was
not
so
a biter.
weird.
But her face was like the audacity.
How dare you?
And she never did anything like that
No,
again.
it was
Like
so
ever.
bizarre,
She never went after yarn. She never chewed yarn or attacked projects. But man, like that
like-
one time,
Jeez,
she was mad.
like, oh man. And that's all the time we have for this episode. For additional content and opportunities to connect with the cast, be sure to check out our website at pardonmystash.com. And remember to tune in next time for more tips, knits, and wits at Pardon My Stash.